Well, Brady can't be the GOAT because he's got Bill Belichick.
We all hate the Patriots.
There's an institutional arrogance.
Tom Brady would be a bum in short.
I hate Tom Brady. No how.
That's not good enough.
Deflategate. Lance Armstrong without the bicycle.
This one bothers me quite a bit for several reasons, but one of them being because in order to show the truth about this, it sounds like I'm ragging on Belichick, which I'm not really trying to. I have to in this case. And there are also analysts on TV getting paid 7 figures using this fallacious argument. So, Belichick is the head coach of the Cleveland Browns from 1991 to 1995. He went 36-44. He only had 1 winning season out of 5, and then he was fired after finishing 5-11 his last year. The Browns moved to Baltimore to become the Ravens, and they didn't even want to take him with them. That's pretty messed up. But even if you want to say that he was a rookie head coach then, and then as head coach of the Patriots, before Brady ever started his first game, Belichick was 5-13. At this time, he was already in the hot seat, and rumblings of the possibility he might be fired for the second time was already catching traction. Okay, so he was already on the verge of being fired from 2 different teams after 1 season.
Because he was on the hot seat until somebody named Tom Brady fell out of heaven into his lap.
The general consensus at that time was Belichick was a great defensive coordinator, excellent defensive coordinator, but a very mediocre head coach. And why was he only in the hot seat after 1 season? Because of the expectations. Belichick had a fantastic quarterback in Drew Bledsoe, one who was so well thought of in New England that and in the league that they gave him a record-setting $100 million contract extension. That's pretty good. I remember him, old Bleed Slow. He quarterbacking for my boys back before our savior Tony Romo came in and pert near won the Super Kahuna. How about them Cowboys? Another issue is that before Belichick, and with the key pieces in place that won those Super Bowls, Pete Carroll had actually managed to have 2 winning seasons and a 500 season, and he never even had a losing one. But now, with the same exact talent, Belichick was doing worse than Carroll. I mean, surely if Belichick is so great, he should have hit the ground running with the same exact team. Pete Carroll seemed to be able to at least win more than he lost, right? Before Carroll, head coach Bill Parcells had Bledsoe, McGinnis, Ty Law, Lawyer Malloy, Teddy Bruschi, and Adam Vinatieri. And he took them all to the Super Bowl. Dadgum, I thought Belichick drafted those guys. Oh, the big tuna. Greatest coach in boys history if you don't count Landry and Jimmy. So in 2000, it's not as if Belichick was a rookie coach. It's not as if he had a terrible roster. Clearly he had some great talent on both sides of the ball. So what's missing? Enter Tom Brady. Brady was the difference maker. Why? Because he was coachable first and foremost. Because he listened, and he did what the coaches asked, and that made them more confident in him. He only listened because he sucked. Brady minimized mistakes. Less turnovers translates to wins and more competitive games. Brady was methodical, and he kept the Patriots' defense on the sidelines instead of going for the home run ball that Drew Bledsoe did, and as we all know, many cases translated to 3 and outs and even interceptions.
I don't think Tom's the secret. I think Bill Belichick.
Brady's personality was fit for everyone. He got along with everybody, and everybody loved him. His teammates trusted him. The coaches respected him. The only player to go to the hospital when Drew was injured? Tom Brady. If you don't think that earned him a lot of respect and good graces, you don't know team sports. No one on earth thought that at this time Brady was a better quarterback than Drew Bledsoe. But the difference was Brady was willing to listen. This made all the difference for Belichick. Willing to listen. Something Aaron Rodgers and guys like him don't do. But a guy like Brady, with his willingness to be an open book, his calmness to make the play, to not get rattled even in the toughest moments, it all changed Belichick's career. If Brady doesn't come along, there is nothing, absolutely nothing in Belichick's history to say that winning would start happening all of a sudden. He has had good NFL quarterbacks playing for him, and it still went badly. Brady, specifically Brady, was needed here. And let the winning begin. Okay, but to take this further, I want to point out other players that Brady is compared to on the all-time greats list. Just to show you how the argument of Brady has Belichick is not only unfair, but it isn't even relevant in some cases, and it actually helps Brady's case than it actually does Bill. And Brady haters like Josadiah here act like Tom is unique and that he has a great Hall of Fame coach coaching him, and that somehow diminishes his greatness. And again, highly paid analysts say and think this type of garbage. But since all great quarterbacks have had garbage coaches and only Brady has had a great coach, let's at least look at some of these guys' head coaches. So let's start with Joe Montana. He had that mediocre coach, Bill Walsh. All Bill Walsh did was reinvent offense. He reinvented offensive football. He is the architect of the West Coast offense, and it was a new concept and defenses didn't even know how to stop it. It was also designed to allow the even average quarterback to flourish if they just followed the steps that he gave them. Ask Steve Young. Did this not give Joe Montana an advantage? Surely it does, right? Well, but what innovation did Belichick bring to the NFL that helped Brady? I can't even think of one. Oh, one more thing. Bill Walsh was an offensive-minded coach, meaning that Montana benefited from a legendary coach with an offense as his forte. That's pretty helpful. Remember, Belichick is a defensive coach, so Brady is actually under whoever the offensive coordinator is at the time. Certainly not some legendary guy like Bill Walsh helping him. But what about Dan Marino in Miami during his early years? He had all those insane stats. Well, he only had Don Shula, a guy who was already a legend before Marino hit puberty. Remember, Belichick only became a legend post-Brady, not pre-Brady. Shula was a defensive guy, just like Bill. So, bravo to Marino, he is a gamer and one of the greatest ever, of course. But Shula was a 4-time Coach of the Year and coached the only undefeated team in history, the 1972 Miami Dolphins. What about John Elway? First, he had Dan Reeves. Okay, so he isn't on the level of the previous guys I mentioned, but he did have a very long career, and he has a winning record overall. But he was also an offensive-minded coach, and he was Coach of the Year twice. So, okay, during Elway's Super Bowl winning years, his coach was the great Mike Shanahan, who, guess what, learned under Bill Walsh's innovative West Coast scheme. And Elway benefited greatly in this scheme. But like Marino, Elway was phenomenal in his own right. I always thought Elway looked like the Broncos logo. Don't you? Haha, he does, actually. So does Shannon Sharp, though. But what about Brett Favre? His best years were during the Mike Holmgren era. A coach who was, you guessed it, an offensive-minded coach. Brett Favre, there's a true patriot, a man's man. I love his Wrangler commercials. Oh. What about Peyton Manning? Another Southern boy. My grandpappy used to go to Klan meetings with old Grandpa Manning. Okay, where are you getting that from? Are you kidding? Okay, I've heard that before, but I don't know if it's true or not. Peyton had Tony Dungy, but like Brady, Manning helped his head coach's career and legacy greatly. I think Dungy is considered in high regard because he had Manning, just like Belichick is considered because of Brady. Although, I obviously think that Belichick is the better coach. What about Drew Brees? His coach is Sean Payton, a pass-happy, very brilliant offensive mind. Sean Payton wants to pass all the time, no matter what. Brees has benefited greatly in the bulk stats department, but it hasn't even translated to victories as often. But with that said, Brees is, of course, a great quarterback and would have been without Sean Payton. But having Payton makes him that much better. It gets him in the Hall of Fame. What about Aaron Rodgers? Another West Coast offensive head coach. He implemented a lot of similar things that Bill Walsh did for Montana. And this has a lot to do with why you always see Rodgers rolling outside of the pocket and making all those great plays and everyone, ooh, oh, great, wonderful. You know who did that? Joe Montana. A big part of Aaron's game is the scheme itself that calls for it. Again, McCarthy for many years was considered one of the best coaches in the league. He even brought Favre's career back from the abyss. He is definitely not a scrub as a head coach. However, this isn't to say Æron isn't a great player. Obviously he is, or he wouldn't be on this comparison list. I always knew Rodgers was a bit squirrely. I heard Æron won't let Danica drive because State Farm won't insure her from hitting too many walls. But boy, I love my NASCAR.
When I read a quote in Ian O'Connor's book that says somebody in that organization, and I don't care if it's the ball boy, I don't care if it's the guy changing the Gatorade coolers. If somebody in that organization says, you know, we couldn't win a Super Bowl with 32 quarterbacks, but maybe the top 15 guys we could do what we've done with. Are you out of your mind in New England? 15 quarterbacks could do what Tom Brady did? Reminds me of Jerry Jones at a bar.
But Bill Belichick and Jimmy Garoppolo may have been the best plan.
The overall point is that all legendary quarterbacks are considered legendary because of their great stats, accomplishments, and or winning. To even be in the conversation of the best, you must have those things. And if you have those things, you probably have a good coach. What do they all have in common? Longevity and stability. Stability in the coaching ranks is essential to a quarterback's career. You keep changing and firing coaches every other year, it's going to be a mess. It's starting all over again. So don't act like Brady is the only one with a great coach. In fact, I've proven that Brady doesn't benefit as much. In the case of his personal stats, he has those stats in spite of a head coach who isn't even offense happy. Yeah, true, he has had stability, but all great quarterbacks do. However,
My point to you is Tom Brady is the system.
He's had 3 different offensive coordinators who had 3 different tastes in how they use Erhardt-Parkin's offense. Everything those offensive coordinators wanted to do, Tom adjusted to. Want to run the ball and play conservative? Tom did it. Want to sling the ball downfield? Tom did it. Want to use slot receivers a lot? Want to utilize tight ends as the main focus? We can do this all day. Name any type of offense and Tom has probably ran it, except for anything that's based on a quarterback running, obviously. Although, congrats on finally reaching 1,000 yards rushing. Nice job. So what you're really saying is Brady stands in pocket like a man, instead of running away like a 2-bit sissy running from a pretty woman.
VonAllen Sports.
Charlie Wise, Josh McDaniels,
Yes.
Bill O'Brien.
Yes.
Okay, they were all products to me of Tom Brady.
Spygate, Deflategate, Tuck Rule, being too good looking, being too skinny. His hair pisses me off. His face pisses me off. I even hate his name. His name's stupid. Tom Brady, Brady Bunch. He's the only man who wears Uggs. Aren't those female boots?
Are you finished? Because I got a response to all of this. I'm looking at Bill Belichick. You supposed to be so damn great. Excuse me, you can't go and find somebody else other than a Jimmy Garoppolo to preserve Tom Brady? You
Just
can't do
because
that?